This is UPfront coming to you live from our studios here at Kokomlemle. My name is Raymond Alqua. Today, we do know that the President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, is expected to break his silence on the controversial Ghana-US Defense Cooperation Agreement that has left the nation deeply divided. This is in barely 2 hours from now. We will get to know the stance of government as to whether he, the president, has ratified the deal and whether or not we are going ahead with it or not. Ahead of that, though, we'll start a conversation here at the studio with those who opposed it, those who are for it, and ask what the way forward, what the expectations of the president's statement is supposed to be here in the studios. After this break, my guest will join me, then a conversation will kickstart. You're welcome back. This is UPfront. My name is Raymond Alqua. My guest today is the chairman of Parliament Subsidiary Legislation Committee, the very honorable, I can call you honorable before I bring your name, because recently the Chief Justice wasn't so excited about it. The honorable Mahama Ayariga. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Ray.
Of course, we'll talk about what's going to happen in the next 2 hours, which is very germane to our conversation. But before that, though, the former president, John Dramani Mahama, seemed to have gotten on the side of the ruling. Okay, now the election has happened, they have lost the power. So the outgoing ruling government in Sierra Leone. You were there. I mean, let me understand, in what capacity were you there?
I was there as part of the ECOWAS observer mission.
Okay.
Different observation missions were sent by different international organizations. You had the Commonwealth Observer Mission led by President John Dramani Mahama. You had the ECOWAS Observer Mission led by President Professor Amos Soya. Then you had another one led by Jonathan. And then you had several others. So there were many observer missions, different international organizations. The AU also sent an observer mission led by a former head of state. So there were several there.
So by your operations within the ECOWAS grouping, would you be in a position to know what the former president Mahama was also doing, especially when he was not in your group?
Oh, yeah. They work together.
Okay.
They work together as a team, almost on every issue. The heads of the observer missions met, and the meetings took place in our hotel. It's called Bintumani Hotel. So every day they came, I was there, I saw them arrive, they had the meetings, we saw them leave. Our head of mission, Mosoya, will come and brief us on what they had decided on, the actions they were taking. So it was more of a collective responsibility approach that the heads of states used.
What is the mandate of an observer mission like this in a country like that?
To observe. Yours is just to observe, to make sure that the parties act in accordance with the laws of the country, the constitution, that the electoral commission...
But that doesn't sound like just an observation duty, you know. When you say to observe, to the least perceptive observer, it would be like you're just watching whatever happens. No interference, no intervention, no advice?
To some extent, the main obligation is to observe.
Okay.
But very often, the missions also tend to engage the actors.
Okay.
And then sometimes their role can sometimes exceed just observation to mediation and even conciliation efforts. And very often also providing technical support to, let's say, the Electoral Commission and even the political parties so that they can have a smooth and successful election. So when you observe that there are challenges facing the Electoral Commission, and those challenges are in the nature of capacity, shortfalls, and etc. As a mission, you may decide that you want to support them with resources. So if there's a need to train the Electoral Commission staff, you may call in the Electoral Commission of Ghana, the Electoral Commission of Nigeria, the Electoral Commission of all the other countries that have capacity, and resource them to provide the technical support.
Okay.
And observation missions, you see, usually take a very long period. Some of the missions will last about 5 months. They will go there. There's a long-term mission that could last 4 or 5 months. They will be sent there. They will be sent across the country. They will be observing all the regions and what is happening in the various regions or provinces, depending on what the terminology is in that country, until the short-term observers arrive, like us, who just come in there and are deployed on the day of the election. We go around the polling stations to make sure that they comply with all the procedures that they have all agreed at the various polling stations, that the results are collated according to the arrangements that have been agreed on by the parties for collation and declared. And after the declaration, you know, we're all free to go. And then there's the long-term mission. We even stay several weeks after to see how things turn up in that country. And whilst they're there, if they feel a need to recall some of the heads of missions so that they can engage in mediation, then they come in. So it is observation, but you find out that certain key leaders, such as the ex-president from West Africa, from Africa and other places, very often have to step in and then play a mediating role when there is some disagreement between the political parties and the candidates. Sometimes you need to move in and negotiate and get them to agree on something. Let me give you a typical example.
Okay.
After the election, the parties wanted to individually declare their own results.
Interesting. I mean, how did they do that? Is it not the Electoral Commission's results?
Precisely.
Yes.
So immediately, the heads of missions had to bring all the candidates together, the SLPP and then the APC, had a meeting with them till late in the night, and they all agreed and signed an agreement that none of them would declare results. They will allow the Electoral Commission to declare the results. So this is the extent to which sometimes they go to make sure that the process is smooth.
Okay, but it's interesting. So what then will be the basis for, of course, we know that newspapers which are aligned to the ruling APC have not been very charitable to the ex-president. They accuse him of scheming. I mean, that's the word they use, to get the opposition candidate elected over the ruling party's candidate in this particular case. And, well, even the foreign affairs minister, actually, who is also the candidate in this election, seemed to be very clear in his mind, as in his people, that the former President Mahama is there to aid the opposition, do something. Was this possible?
I mean, the posture of the APC, in my opinion, is very unfortunate. I was there, and there is no way that President John Dramani Mahama could have influenced the outcome of their elections. It is their country. He was there. He just joined Mahama. He didn't go with the armed forces of Ghana. He didn't go with the Ghana police.
But he has experience in elections.
He went there as an individual.
He's a man of influence.
But they also have experience in elections. They have organized several, they came through elections.
Yes.
And they have their electoral system in place.
But can you say categorically that the former president did not have any interest in the election?
What interest could he have in an election beyond his interest in making sure that the mandate that he was given go help ensure that they have a free and fair election, observe that, and then leave after they have accomplished their elections?
In the execution of this mandate, was the former president leaning towards the opposition more than those in government?
There's nothing to show that he was leaning towards anybody. Because let me give you, I was there, so let me tell you what happened. The first instance when he actively got involved was when the police went to the residence of the opposition leader and wanted to conduct a search. They suspected that they had some gadgets there for transmitting results and whatnot. So they went and they wanted to conduct a search.
Which is very possible. Kenya complained of a similar thing.
Then the supporters rallied behind the opposition candidate and said they will not allow the police to enter the house and conduct the search. So it was threatening to mar the whole process. So John Mahama was called. So he quickly rushed from his hotel to the opposition leader's house and asked them what the problem was. And he was told, he said, the police service is the police service of Sierra Leone. And they have a right to enter anybody's house to conduct a search if they suspect that an offense is being committed in the house. And you cannot prevent your police service from conducting a search if they want to conduct a search. So he insisted that the opposition leader should allow them to enter the house in his presence and in the presence of the leader's reps to conduct the search.
Is that a mandate of an observer?
No,
mission head?
First and foremost, as I told you, the observer sometimes tries to make sure that there is peace, there is chaos. And remember, this is another West African leader.
That's
and
true.
So he has an interest in making sure that there is peace prevails. So the opposition leader agreed. And John Mahama led the police into the house. They searched everywhere. And what did they find? Some 3 or 4 computers. Nothing more. So he said, are you satisfied? The police said they were satisfied. Then he told the opposition that, you see, nothing here. So why didn't you let them search? Because there's nothing. So the police, he then made the police and then the opposition to shake hands in the presence of the cameras as a sign of peace and order, so that that message will go back to the wider population that they should go on with the electoral process peacefully. That was the first instance.
Okay.
Now, how does this amount to President Mahama is leaning towards the opposition? How does this amount to leaning towards the opposition? The second instance was the issue of the collation of the votes. In the past, they did the collation of votes at the regional offices, not the constituency offices or what they call district offices.
Okay.
But in their law, the language seemed to say that they should do it in the district offices. But they have always done it in the regional offices on the grounds that they don't have the facilities and infrastructure at the district offices. So this time, it came up. So again, the heads of missions, including John Mahama, Goodluck Jonathan, everybody, they called them to a meeting. I was in the hotel. And they sat till close to midnight. And at the end of the day, the two parties agreed that the Electoral Commission should carry out the collation at the regional offices the way that they have always done in the past. Then the APC had issues with that, and that is one of the charges that why was John Mahama or the various heads of missions not accepting their position that the collation should take place at the district offices instead of the regional offices. Those are the two issues. Meanwhile, there's no doubt about the integrity of the elections at the individual polling stations. Because I was a polling station observer. And I went to, I think, 13 different polling stations. And each polling station sometimes can have about 10 polling centers. So you can have one big cluster of schools, and every school block is a polling center. And so when we say polling stations, you can go to one polling station and there are 20 polling centers at one polling station.
Okay.
And we observed, and honestly, the process was okay, orderly. The turnout was impressive. The process of counting the ballots was in accordance with the procedures agreed by the parties. The only issue was, should they go to the district office to do the collation, or they should go to the regional office to do the collation? That was the only issue. Other than that, I don't see any basis for the allegations. I have heard voice clips on social media. I have read all sorts of write-ups on social media by Sierra Leoneans. Some of them alleging that John Mahama, his brother, has some relationship with Mada Bio. I don't know. I don't know if they have any relationship. I don't know Mada Bio beyond just seeing him at the hotel come for meetings with the heads of missions. But I know Ibrahim, but I can't know all Ibrahim's business partners and the business dealings
that's interesting
he engages in.
But is this publicly known?
I don't know. I don't know. So far, they haven't, the allegations they have made, so far they haven't mentioned that this particular business transaction is being done between Ibrahim and then Mada Bio.
Okay.
I hope you get my
point.
So far,
they've not provided any basis for
I have not seen. I've only heard them insist that there is a business relationship between Ibrahim and then Mada Bio. But they haven't mentioned a particular business so that we can now go and look at the documentation and the transactions to see. And in any case, How about if John Mahama doesn't know about any business relationship between his brother and a candidate in that
Did
country?
the former president elect himself, or who was
Precisely,
elected?
it was a Commonwealth Observer mission that decided that he
Did
should
he
go.
know ahead of time, like a year or so, that he would be elected to do this job?
I don't know. I don't take his correspondence.
So what I'm seeking to establish in this case is whether or not he was in pole position, prior determined to actually go in and aid a group. Because if he didn't elect himself, it would sound to me like then, or if he didn't influence the election.
First and foremost,
yes,
there was no way he could aid any group. He didn't aid any group. I was there. I was an observer. And he wasn't alone. He wasn't the only head of state.
Elections are pretty interesting phenomena.
There was good luck, Jonathan.
Yes, but they're not mentioning his name.
Yes, the name mentioning started when John Mahama boldly went to the opposition leader's house in the wake of threatened conflict. Very few people would have had the courage,
but I mean,
to go there when there was threat of violence.
Was it outright
violence? But he got up and went there.
Did he act beyond his mandate in that case?
He acted in the best interest of all of us in the sub-region to go there and prevent a conflict from occurring. And in fact, a lot of Sierra Leoneans commended him for doing that.
Yes, I get your point.
Yes, so,
but was it part of his mandate?
If, as an observer,
yes,
former head of state from the sub-region, you are in a country as an observer, yours is to promote the smooth running of the electoral process. So if there is a threatened, breach of the peace somewhere, you have a duty to go there and intervene to stop it.
Okay, let me get this clear. Yeah. You do recall that in the round-up, was it the 2012 election? What happened at the STL office in Jowolu? The former president of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo, was there. There were complaints. I mean, some Ghanaians were complaining that this was needless interference because you were dealing with a local matter that did not require your intervention in the first place. But he was there. People even believe that he's been there, helped in the resolution of the matter, because at the end of the day, it was much ado about nothing, really.
It's like that. It's a similar incident. Similar incident. So when you are sent there as a prominent member of the leadership of the sub-region, you don't just go and lie in your hotel and then there is threatened, breach of the peace out there, and you're lying in your hotel. So mine is to wait till election day and I'll go and observe. How can you do that? If you see that there is some
report even prior to the election day. Anyway.
You should go there and then try and then mediate. The only thing is that insist on the rules being complied with. I am happy that it is not the opposition that are accusing him, but the government. That is why I say so, is that you, as the government, you have control over the apparatus of the state.
Okay.
So how can somebody fly from his country and come, he alone, singularly, and come and then, overrun the entire security apparatus of Sierra Leone? How is that possible? How is that possible?
It's interesting to know. But the election has happened, actually. Yes. Here in Ghana, the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee is insisting that there is a need for a full-scale national security probe into this particular matter, and that the alleged involvement of the former president is a very serious issue.
Nothing stops him. He should go and probe. If he has money and effort to...
No, he's asking national security in Ghana, not in...
And he has money to go and rent hotels and stay there and be probing. He doesn't even need to go. He should come and ask me. I'll tell him everything that happened.
That's interesting. Anyway.
He doesn't need to probe anything. He should just come to my office at Parliament House. He's with me in Parliament. He should just walk over and I'll tell him exactly what happened. He wouldn't need a probe.
Okay, but moving on, the understanding we have is that would this in any way jeopardize Ghana's relationship with Sierra Leone?
How will that jeopardize Ghana's relationship with Sierra Leone? For this afternoon, the new president of Sierra Leone issued a statement, commending John Mahama and apologizing to him for all that has been said.
But would this not cement, because this is a man that he's alleged to have helped win the election?
He's not the president of Sierra Leone.
So would this not cement the claim that?
No.
I mean, this statement could.
He has a duty.
Yes.
To take steps to restore the image of the country.
Oh, yeah.
Because John Mahama wasn't there as John Mahama. John Mahama was sent there by the Commonwealth observer mission. And the Commonwealth is made up of several countries. And they had confidence in John Mahama and sent him. And he went there and did his best to make sure that there was a peaceful election. And he and the other heads of states who were leading the other observer missions all managed the process in such a way that, you know, the first time a clear leader did not emerge, and then there was a runoff. They managed the process until a clear winner emerged, and the person has been sworn in. The former president, Kuroma, has handed over to him, and he is now president. If anybody has an issue, they have courts. They can go to their courts. The courts will take up the matter. We will still be observing from a distance, and make sure that the image of Sierra Leone as a democratic country where, you know, democracy is being consolidated will be established. That's all we're interested in. I mean, what will John Mahama gain from anybody winning elections? Whoever won elections in Sierra Leone will respect John Mahama as a former head of the Republic of Ghana.
Okay, now, and this is exactly the words of the Honorable Frank Anodompe. He says the Commonwealth itself that sent Mr. Mahama ought to do a similar investigation. Does that sound right to you?
The Commonwealth was there. It wasn't John Mahama was the head. But the Commonwealth was represented by a whole team.
Yes.
It wasn't just one person. John Mahama was just the head of the mission. Like I was part of the ECOWAS observer mission. So our head was Emosoya. Emosoya is just one person. So we had people representing the ECOWAS commission. We had people representing ECOWAS Parliament. We went there as ECOWAS parliamentarians. There are people representing ECOWAS, NGOs, partners, all sorts of organizations.
I get your point.
Yes.
But if, for example, you and your team, can the ECOWAS institute an investigation when there are allegations that you aided one side win the election?
Why not? If they are convinced that there's a basis for the allegation, they can conduct an investigation.
Okay, now...
But then my argument is that they won't do it because they were the ones who actually, you know, managed John Mahama. In fact, the calls that, oh, go to this place and check and see would be coming from the ECOWAS Secretariat.
That's interesting to know.
Very often it will be the ECOWAS Secretary General who will call and plead with him
to go and
to go and intervene in this matter, because his staff would have reported to him that there is problem here, and that if somebody doesn't go and intervene, the two parties are not listening to each other. But if an eminent person who is respected moves in, they may listen. Then they will tell him. I flew on Friday with John Mahama to Sierra Leone. Last Friday, I flew with him to Sierra Leone.
Okay.
And when we arrived and we disembarked, he was met by the ECOWAS observer mission, and in my presence, they briefed him on all the issues that had come up, and they were now giving him guidance on what they think he should do.
I get your point.
Are you getting this? I was physically there. I was sitting with him in the room.
There's one
when
section,
they provided
though,
all the
details.
The details. So on the basis of their recommendations that say we recommend that you do 1, 2, 3, we think if you do it 4, 5, 6, it will help smoothen the process. Then on the basis of that, in fact, by the time we arrived, they had already scheduled a meeting for him at the Electoral Commission office. So I was sitting there when they told him, sir, we have scheduled a meeting for you at 1 p.m. at the EC office. So, sir, you need to go. These are your speaking notes. These are the things we want to make sure that the Electoral Commissioner commits to. It was given to him by the Commonwealth Secretariat.
Now, let me bring this
So they know what has happened. So they won't investigate anything because they know nothing happened.
But they did do it with the help of the British High Commission.
Did he do what with the help of the British High Commission?
Did he do his operations?
I am telling you that he had the ECOWAS Secretariat there to help him.
I get you.
I didn't see the British High Commissioner anywhere near John Mahama. I didn't see.
They didn't hold meetings?
I didn't see. Okay. If they held meetings, I wasn't in the same hotel with him. He was at Radisson Hotel, which was just about 200 meters away or 300 meters away from my hotel, Bintumani. The meetings were taking place in our hotel. 1 or 2 meetings maybe may have taken place at the Radisson Hotel. But most of the meetings that the leaders of the parties attended took place in our hotel. And I saw them each time that they came.
The election is over.
Yes.
There's a new president. I mean, I'll not ask you expectations of the new president since you are not in Sierra Leone, but from where you sit, was it free, fair, and credible? More likely, most likely credible?
I will say what I saw is a very, very, very orderly election. Very, very, very free, very, very fair, and To some extent, I would even say that we have something to learn from the Sierra Leoneans.
Really?
The first election, on that day, they elected local councillors, elected mayors, something like our DCEs and MCEs, elected members of parliament, and elected the presidential candidate all the same day.
Different ballots?
Different ballots. So when a voter went to the polling station, he voted, I think, 4 times.
And it wasn't cumbersome?
It was, but it was so peaceful and orderly. And by the end of the day, all of them had voted.
The people were all voted?
They all voted.
They must have a very small voter population then.
No. What they did was, at one polling station, I told you at one polling station, they will have about, 10 polling centers.
Oh, okay.
No, at one polling center, they will have 10 polling stations.
That's interesting.
So they split it and made sure that no register exceeded 300 people.
That's interesting.
You see,
we tried doing something like that anyway.
So no register exceeded 300 people. So by 3 o'clock, everybody had voted. So we're only sitting there. In fact, some of us went back to our hotel and slept, took a nap, and then around 4 we took off and we got back to our centers to close the poll with them and see if they were going through the procedure diligently. So no polling station had more than 300 registered voters. So if this whole neighborhood, you have 10,000 voters, all they do is they divide it by 300 and get the number of polling stations. Then they'll get a school block. Then in each of the classrooms in that school block will be a polling station.
Okay.
One polling station. So, or polling center A, polling center B,
and it will be difficult to find that way
so when you come, there are officials all around. If you're an illiterate, and they write there, all names from A to C are here. All names from C to D are there. All names from
alphabetical order.
In alphabetical order. So if you're an illiterate and you don't know, there are staff that when you see them in the EC uniform, you ask them, they look at your card and they tell you that is your queue. Go there. Very simple and orderly.
Honorable, we will take a break. When we return from this break, we will actually change topic. We will talk about the expected announcement and speech by the President of the Republic of Ghana in 1:30 minutes from now. 90 minutes time, the President will speak.